Hello, hello, people. Shiny, happy people. This episode of Red Rambles is brought to you by the same people who over-analyzed Dog Soldiers. My name is Joe, and this is the best of 2023 episode. We're going through our picks, our number one picks for the year. Should be cool, and it won't be 4 hours.
It's gonna be
yeah.
5!
It's gonna be 5
6.
hours. 1 hour per movie.
5, 7!
This is the epic. This episode is the epic that we're looking for. This is the Lawrence of Arabia of film discussion episodes.
This is the Empire Strikes Back of Red Rambles.
The Empire Strikes Back. The Red
yeah.
Rambles strike back.
No, this is actually our director's cut. We're cutting it a little bit shorter than last time. We figured last time was a great way to start, but now we're going to circumcise ourselves.
Yeah, we don't need to exhaust ourselves.
Just the tip. Yeah.
Just the tip. Just the tip.
Hello, my name is Connor. I was also in the previous episode. We did overanalyze Dog Soldiers way too much. But now we're here to overanalyze some more movies way too much.
Why does it sound like you're trying to seduce me?
Yeah, that was an ASMR. Like,
We're gonna seduce
That
you.
what?
I'm gonna talk about
It's more
these
like
movies,
a
pal.
mukbang.
I'm so
mukbang.
hard right now.
yeah, that was sexy. Damn.
I am. Damn, Connor, I've never been so turned on by you.
I never thought about you like that, you know?
Yeah, I do. Making
You're
me feel
getting
kind of
a big player,
zesty.
don't worry, bro.
Jesus. I'm Scott. I wasn't present for the last episode, so I wasn't here to overanalyze Dog Soldiers. However, I look forward to adding my own certain brand of spice to this episode.
I'm Nick. I really like Spider-Man. That's why I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man. You already know who I am. I don't know if Joe actually introduced himself, so I wanted to bring that up.
I did introduce myself. I did
Okay.
indeed.
Amazing. I have the memory of a goldfish. I'm Nick. I like Spider-Man, as you're going to find out. I don't know if Joe introduced himself.
I did introduce myself.
Okay, I have the memory of a goldfish.
Nice. Alright, hello. I am Tommy once again. I was on the previous episode. I believe we didn't explain Dog Soldiers enough. But so goes, that's how it is. And we look forward to sharing our favorite movies of 2023 and telling everyone why our movies are the best movies of 2023.
Before we get started, was it a good year for movies?
I'd say so. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it was
actually
alright. I
It was
tell
pretty
you what, I looked through my letterboxd, and I've only watched 9 films that have actually come out this year.
You say that. That's almost like one every month, nearly.
Yeah, you've probably
haven't
seen more
checked
than
how
I
many
have.
I've seen.
That's actually a good point. I checked
It's
this
weird
not
when
long
you
ago
put
as
it like
well.
that, because the amount of movies that actually come out, especially there's loads of movies coming out recently as well. Like in a I think they're all just trying to cram as many as they can before the year end.
Damn, I've seen 17 movies that came out this year. I didn't
Really?
even
Wow.
realize I'd seen
Good job.
17.
I
Most
haven't
of them
seen-
are awful.
I need to catch up on movies this year. I've actually, for me,
Ooh.
2023 has been the year for gaming. It's been such a
Yeah.
year for gaming. There's still games that came out this year that I haven't even started yet, like the System Shock remake, a Hi-Fi Rush, or that fucking skating bomb game or whatever. There's a lot of cool shit this year for games, but this isn't the channel for that, unfortunately.
No, it's not. Yeah, I'd say overall, there was some good picks this year. I'd say overall it was a solid year. I mean, obviously, we're not talking about it on this episode because that we're going to save the Meg 2, The Trench, for an episode all on its own. Is the best movie of 2023, boys.
Yeah, 100%.
The Meg 2 special movie.
I like the Chinese version of whatever that fucking song is called. That's Not My Name.
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
I was gonna
Don't
say.
try singing it, Joe. Don't you do it.
Why? It's what it sounds like.
All right, but with that out of the way, boys, I think we should start and get on about our favorite movies of the year.
Oh yeah.
All right. Take it away,
And
Tommy.
with I will. And my pick of this year, of course, is John Wick 4. Now, I loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic. It's crazy to me that it's been 9 years. The first one came out in 2014, which is just, it's insane to me. But I think these films they just almost, I'd say, get better and better, but I think they're all consistently fantastic. I'd honestly put this quadrilogy as possibly, like, it's hard to say off the top of my head, but possibly the best quadrilogy out there. A trilogy would be a different conversation, but for them to bring out a fourth one and for it to be on the scale that it is, it was just so amazing. It's hard to.
Yes.
It's
So
hard to
let me get this straight. You're saying this is better than the American Pie quadrilogy? Because I don't believe you.
Hey man, hey, let's not get into debates here, pal. About
John
the
Wick
best
4 is
quadrilogy.
definitely no American Wedding. That's for
Also,
damn
there's
sure.
technically like 8 American Pie movies, bro. did you
Oh
not?
yeah, but I'm talking about from like the. Oh yeah, no, it's now.
Well, no, because the
the
fourth
main
one
ones
is
they did American Reunion, didn't they? They did
technically
American
the
Reunion.
fourth one is American Pie Bandcamp, which is like Stifler's little bro.
That's a spin-off. That's a spin-off. They
But
don't count.
that was
They
the
don't count.
fourth movie. But we're getting sidetracked. But yeah, I love these movies.
This is meant to be a professional fucking podcast.
Professional. You calm the fuck down. You calm the
I
fuck
think
down.
Tommy gets an extra hour on his timer for that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Extra hour, boys.
There
But
we go.
it's so hard to say like what I love about these films and this film because they're all fantastic. I think what John Wick does so spectacularly is each film, the budget gets bigger, the length of the films get bigger, the scale gets bigger, but it never feels like it's doing too much or it's veered too differently from like the original source material and stuff like that. It feels the exact same, but it's just expanded and on a much larger scale. That's one thing I appreciate. That it constantly keeps that. Shout out Keanu Reeves for being able to kick ass. Like he was in his late 40s when he started these films in 2014. So to be 9 years later still kicking ass is a real testament. And not many guys can just be like, say, yeah, no, for like 2.5 hours, and it's the coolest fucking thing. It's just incredible. I'm not going to go too heavy into spoilers here, just because it is a new film, and I would love anyone out there who hasn't seen this quadrilogy. I'd highly recommend it. I think, especially as action movies, I think they are honestly the best action movies of like the last 20 years. I'd put it up there with like the Raid movies. If anyone has seen the Raid movies, they are in terms of action, they are so entertaining, so fun to watch. But obviously, I feel like the action when it comes to John Wick is like the standard, right? People talk about that, but one of my favorite elements is the world of John Wick, almost the mythos of the Continental, the table, and everything. I love how they are able to simultaneously like present all these people as real people. Like with John in every fight, does he win them all? Yeah, but he's beat up, he's exhausted, he's tired. Yeah, he's always winning, he's always doing this. They're normal, but at the same time, with how they operate, with the rules, with the scenery, the aesthetics, they do such a good job in painting the difference between their world, the world of the Continental, and then the world of just normal people, and how that's very much a central theme throughout a lot of the John Wick films, because John himself wanted that life, and he had that life, and that life was tragically taken away from him. But I love the mythos. I love how all these people feel almost like angels in a way. Maybe not angels is the right word, but like divine beings. How these people sit on even though they exist in the same place and realm as normal people, the world they live in couldn't be more separate and different. And it's so fascinating. And I love how each film does such a superb job in not only like showing you some aspects of the film, but not showing you too much and keeping to the narrative of said film. But then each film, those aspects that were introduced before, they get expanded, and then in the next film, more stuff gets introduced, and they constantly get expanded. And it's crazy. If you jump straight from 1 to 4, you might be like, "Well, how the fuck did we get here?" But as you watch all the films like simultaneously, it feels effortless. It feels completely natural.
Can I ask
It's just
something?
absolutely
So, you don't want to go into spoilers here now, but you clearly have
Not
a lot
too
to say
heavily.
about these films. If people would be interested in some kind of retrospective or something, maybe from our boy Tommy here, leave that in the comments, because I'm not
for
gonna
the John
lie.
Wick films.
Yeah,
For the
I'm
John
not
Wick
gonna
films.
lie. It sounds like you got a lot to say about this.
I
And obviously
do.
you got 20
I-
minutes here. I
I-
personally would like to watch this video.
I actually had to hold back from taking so many notes while rewatching the fourth one, just because like there are scenes in that film which I could like dissect, and that would take me 20 minutes alone. So I had to I was like, hold back now, take it easy, right? Just chillax. I saw the film several months ago, and I rewatched it yesterday in preparation. It's crazy how it's about, excluding credits, it's about 2 hours and 40 minutes, but the entire ride is just insane. It never feels like it's like running too long or that it's a drag. Each set piece is just so crazy and unique. They constantly spice it up. And that's not just with the action itself, but it's with all the other pieces. The scenery. In one moment, you could be in Neo Tokyo, but then you could be in the back streets of Paris in France. But it's not even just that, it's the cinematography. I always appreciate that Chad Stahelski. I might be reaching a bit here, but one thing I appreciate with the John Wick films in the action is the camera is a lot more, there's a lot more one takes for that, and a lot of the camera movements actually follow the action. I remember Jackie Chan saying in like his stunt documentary years ago that that's how, like, it's not just his movies, but a lot of Hong Kong movies, action movies, that's how they prefer to do action, is you want the camera to follow the action. You don't want to cut it in a million different ways because it becomes absurd and the people could be like, what the fuck's happening? So I wouldn't be surprised if Chad Stahelski took inspiration from those, because from a like how they film the fight scenes is seamless. Like when people fall, the camera will fall with them. If they go all the way across the room, the camera will pan and go all the way across the room with them. Obviously, Keanu and the whole stunt team putting in the work is just incredible. Chad Stahelski being a stunt director, obviously, and even still works on stunts to this day. More as a director, you know, he's in his 50s now. You got to take it a little easy, you know. But he's just fantastic. The choreography is insane. More to John Wick, though, with this film. They introduced several new characters in this film that weren't in the previous ones. You have, I'll say names, you know, because names is one thing. So you have Mr. Nobody, my favorite Kane, played by Donnie Yen.
Played by Kane.
Played by the Big Red Machine.
May 19th.
And then I'm just going to call him the Marquis because his name is French and I'm going to butcher it. So I'm just going to call him the Marquis. But all of these characters are so, they grasp you, because that's the thing about John Wick. How they write these characters is, I feel it almost goes under the radar because people are so focused on these big action set pieces that sometimes people overlook. Like, well, I've always spoken about how well they build the world, but it's the characters as well. John Wick himself, he's a character who is not necessarily the most complex. You know, that he's not doing big, deep monologues. You know, his character isn't trying to, you know, come across with any of these big, heavy themes or whatnot. This guy is a man who's in pain. That's the best way to describe it. He's in pain and he's tired. John Wick is always tired. But yeah, that he's not the only one. The new characters, especially Donnie Yen's character, is super well written. He's so entertaining. It's crazy that Donnie Yen as well. Donnie Yen, if I'm right, he's got to be like nearly 60 now. The fact he can still kick ass is incredible. The first solo Donnie Yen movie I watched was the Ip Man films back in the day, and if you guys haven't, you guys or
Heard
anyone
of
at
those
home,
ones.
if you haven't watched
Yeah, no, I
those,
haven't
then
seen that
I
movie.
highly recommend them. They're loosely based off Bruce Lee's Master. I say loosely because obviously they take a bit of liberty. For example, I don't think Bruce Lee's Master fought a Mike Tyson-like person at some point in his life, like Donnie Yen does in the third film. But especially the first two, they are some of the best martial arts movies I've ever seen. Especially the first one's incredible. So when I heard Donnie Yen was in this movie, I was like, that's insane. The parallels, again, without going into too much detail, I like the parallels with John. I like how these two are very similar, yet they're so different. And it makes each scene with them uh, so almost mesmerizing in a way because their characters, they're very stoic. Kane's character in the film says a lot more than John does, even though he has less on screen time. But is you able to sympathize with these guys a lot. I think that's the interesting thing about the John Wick films as well, is no one you meet is a good person. Not really. Maybe you can get behind them, you understand them, and you sympathize them. And I think that's the key thing to take from these films. There's not necessarily good or bad guys. Obviously, within the films themselves, there are protagonists and antagonists. But to say that one person, because John Wick himself is not a good person, he's just, like, technically speaking, to his core, he is not a good person. Quite often, you hear stories about just how crazy he was and how unstoppable he was. In fact, he has almost one of my favorite character introductions in all movies, all the way dating back to the first one with the Baba Yaga introduction scene. Because how they introduced John in that movie, is how you would introduce like an unstoppable, like a villain almost, someone who people are terrified of. Yeah, he's the good guy. He's the good guy. He's the guy we're rooting for. Yet he is presented in such a way that he's the Baba Yaga. John Wick himself is almost like a myth in a myth. Because, like I said, the Continental and the world of the table feels like they're almost like gods, these divine beings who live so separately from the rest of us. That's so prevalent in the fourth one as well, especially through the Marquis. In almost every scene with the Marquis, not only is he wearing an incredibly stylish yet different suit that he is in, but sometimes you see him in these theaters where he's watching performances on his own, or he's in a stable watching a performance of these ladies jockeys riding on horses and stuff like that. Each scene of
Joggers.
him, joggers, but each scene
He
with
likes
him
the
in,
way they sweat.
he does. But each scene with him in presents this idea of status and wealth, because it's always a new fancy suit. It's always in it. It's always in different locations, but each location, each building, is the architecture in the designs are flawless. They're stunning. Like, once again, going back to how these people in the Continental, the world of the Continental, sorry, the Continental is the hotel, the world of the table, if you will, is how different it is. That's also, I always feel like that's how it's kind of shown through the music and the scenery as well. Like how a lot of the music in John Wick, a lot of it's like sort of like techno electronic, but there's a lot of even in this movie as well. There's scenes where a lot of the music is not only sort of like techno, but also you have like operatic singing in the background as well. It's almost like this idea that they're like I said, like divine beings, but the divine beings in a modern day time. Like 1 minute, like I said earlier, you can be in these old historical flawless buildings, but then you're in Neo Tokyo. I like, and I just, it's so good. It's so good.
The level of wealth found in the contract killing lifestyle has always been like expressed really well in those movies.
Oh yeah, no,
Also, but
absolutely.
also saw the level of like, because it's almost like a cult in it.
In a way, well, it's interesting, right? Because that's why I meant by it's a different world, and this world specifically has rules, and in each film, there's always one line of dialogue that's consistent,
I
which is
see, yeah.
the separating us. It's like we have rules. Why do we have rules? Because that's what separates us from the animals. But what's
Mhm.
interesting is it's like you could also take that as a literal, like he could be talking about dogs and cats and stuff like that. But then he could just be talking about normal human beings, right? Because a lot of people, especially in this day and age, people don't like to follow the rules. People do what there's anarchy, it's whatever. But
Yeah.
like Joe said, in this world of like contract killing, but so much more, like you've got to have these rules. In fact, there's in this film there's an old rule which is very much implemented, because if this rule didn't exist, it'd be complete anarchy, because they live in such a violent world. And once again, their world is violent. It's rough. People get murdered all the time, but it's like the beauty almost masks the violence, right? Because everyone is in the nicest suits. The common like transaction, people use these gold coins, right? The continental hotels are so fancy, everything is beautiful. Like
Yeah.
aesthetically, these movies are so appeasing to the eyes, and it's such a
Yeah.
contrast from the actual violence that goes on within this world itself, right? You have the beauty on a surface level, but then beneath this, it's violence and just I don't know what else. Yeah, it's just violence and
Like,
almost
I've watched the first half an hour of John Wick 3. I've seen all of John Wick 1. I watched the first
Yeah, I've
half an hour
seen
of
the
John Wick
first.
3.
you
Seen the
missed
In the
John Wick
first,
2.
in
You
the
missed
first,
John Wick 2.
in the first half an hour of John Wick 3, I swear he throws like 10 knives into 10 people's faces. Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
they're in a
Absolutely
museum bit.
amazing.
They're in an
Yeah,
old
that
school
bit's great.
museum.
That
Yeah,
bit's
Yeah, I've seen
absolutely
that
amazing.
clip. 'Cause I've seen that.
And
yeah,
those fights were fucking great. I was on the edge of my seat, man.
yeah. The choreography is incredible. How they use their environments in the action scenes as well. How John is well, he like you said, he'll smash a case and throw knives at people, or he'll like smash a case in this movie and use
Up the pink.
nunchucks.
Let's get more stuntmen to choreograph fights.
It does, yeah, it does. Or yeah, I mean, it helps that the director was a stuntman
Yeah.
and
It
is
was,
still a
yeah.
stunt director. Um,
Whose stuntman was he? Tommy, enlighten the viewers.
oh yes, Chad Stahelski was actually Keanu Reeves's or one of Keanu Reeves's stunt doubles back in the old Matrix films, ladies and gentlemen. In case
It
you
was.
didn't know that, which
Yeah.
even though their faces are completely different, if you look at them back then from the back, their builds are incredibly similar. Chad is still very slender. Obviously, Keanu, he's got a little bit more meat on him now, but you know, he let him be. He's in his 50s, man, and he's still kicking ass. But
Still
yeah,
taking the
it's
subway.
still taking the subway,
Still
the most
taking the
humble man there is.
He
Um,
really is.
this
He's New
film,
York through and through. That's the thing.
he
He's a
He
is,
really is.
proper New York
which is
guy.
funny because he's like Hawaiian. He's like Hawaiian and
Yeah.
Canadian.
Yeah, but
Um,
he's lived in New York for like so long, hasn't he?
this film, yeah, he has, but this film fully capitalizes on like Keanu and his sort of acting style. A lot of people shit on Keanu for not being very expressive, which is, you know, it carries a little bit of weight. But I feel like this film, the fact he isn't, or not even just this film, but these films in general, it's almost like the lack of expressiveness is very much true to the character, because
It's kind of the selling point, isn't it?
it is
Like
this
you're not
guy.
going into these movies to be to have an an amazing deep monologue at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're watching it for the fucking amazing
it's
choreography.
it's
and
a
vibes.
story. Yeah, no, the amazing choreography and the story. I think what helps is in the first movie, it's such an easy like motivator. Like they kill
Of
the
course.
man's dog. Like I think everyone and even people who are allergic to dogs could probably get behind something like that. But like it fits to John Wick's character, right? Because if you are the most ruthless killer in history, as he's kind of like painted to be, you kind of have to lack those emotions. You have to be shut away. You can't be expressive. If those things could very much interfere with that line of work, you know what I mean? So I think they not only is it true to his character and plays to Keanu's strengths, I think it actually adds to those very sub. There's same within this film. In this film, there's a couple of scenes. Okay, I'm gonna go into a spoiler here. I don't give a fuck because because spoiler warning, because I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. This is a great scene, and this is a testament to Keanu and John Wick's character. I think it's so subtle but so beautiful. Is when they're talking about headstones and what to put on headstones. The Bowery King, played by Lawrence Fishburne, his is simple. He says, "Long live the king." John doesn't say anything because the way his character is, I don't think he's ever pondered this kind of question. But then as he leaves, he says, "Loving husband." And then Winston, the character, he's like, "What?" He looks at him and then he goes, "That's what I wanted to say. John, loving husband." And he just walks away. And for me, it's that little detail is like why John Wick is so captivating as a character. Like on one hand, he is this ruthless killer, but beneath it all is this man who the reason he's doing all this is it's all out of love. It's all out of love and the love that
that's
he
a good line.
lost. Like it's such a simple line. But in my opinion, it's the most impactful line in the entire movie because even though it's so simple, those very few words, "John, loving husband," screams so much about his character, why he's doing this, how he thinks, how he feels. It's so subtle and yet so beautiful at the same time. And that's why I think that a lot of people overlook with these films is the actual
Man, John Wick making a homie cry in the club.
John
right
Wick do
now.
be making homies cry. But yes, it's a lot of people. The action is self-explanatory. That's kind of why I didn't want to talk about it too much because everyone and their mums who's seen even 30 minutes of a John Wick movie knows it. They kick ass and they all kick ass. So when doing this, I wanted to talk a little bit more about why I loved the world, the writing, and the characters. But obviously, it kicks fucking ass. And if they do more of these films, which who knows, maybe they will, maybe they won't, because apparently Chad says after every film they're like maybe they'll end it and then they have dinner, they do another one.
Yeah.
So if they do more, I don't think they need to, but if they do more and it's just as good, I'm happy. But this one alone was so epic, so well written, so beautifully made and that is why, gentlemen and people at home, people of the universe, John Wick 4 was my favorite movie of 2023.
Nice.
Ooh,
Very
well
nice.
done.
Very
Very
nice.
articulate.
Thank you,
So
gentlemen.
would
Thank you,
you say
gentlemen.
though that
Cool pick.
would you say that John Wick 4 is the best John Wick movie?
That is a tough one because I love them all equally, right? That's like telling me to pick a favorite child, bro.
He'll
Child,
answer
yeah.
that in his John Wick
Yeah,
retrospective.
in the retrospective.
Which I guess I've now
will
just
be
strong-armed
decided
you
by
into
you.
doing.
You have.
Yeah.
I have been
You,
forced.
viewer.
I've been forced, ladies and gentlemen.
We haven't even
Help me.
signed contracts.
We're
Help
going to
me.
have a poll on the YouTube thing, and it's going to say we're going to have two options: John Wick retrospective, live stream of Tommy's execution, and we'll see which one wins. You don't want to see him die, do you?
You don't want us to
Please.
have to go on live leak.
Yeah,
Live
come on,
leak
people.
and murder our
Not with
best
all those-
friend.
We haven't
Poor
even done the
Asian
Christmas
steel workers.
episode yet. Come on now. Let
Exactly.
me
No,
live to
it's
the
about
Christmas
to
episode.
You're not going to let this
Still
guy see
coming down
Christmas, let
awfully
alone make
quick.
his John Wick video.
Damn, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Alright.
I'm gonna make us do a whole ass John Wick video. Huh?
Well, talking about Christmas coming early, me and Connor are now actually going to talk about our favorite film
yeah.
of the year. And if you can see our Discord profile pictures, I'm sure it's going to be very, very clear
I
where
wonder
this is
who.
going.
Buddies unite.
Yeah, so
It's obviously Spider-Verse.
yep. We were actually talking about this film before the podcast started, and
Fucking nerds.
I know, right? I know, right? The second episode and the second animated film that I've picked.
God,
Yeah.
Wow,
what a weeb.
I know, right?
You know,
Get
he
this
just has
weeb out.
he just has the swagger of a black teen. It sends
really
chills down my spine.
But yeah, me and Connor,
Yeah.
this was both of our favorite movies of the year. I think neither of us can decide whether or not we prefer the original or this one.
Yes, correct.
but I think they're both up there. I think the first one is definitely a better standalone film, and I've got a lot of things I want to say. I've only got a couple of notes written down, but Connor, seeing as I've taken the first bit of this, what do you have to say about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
What I have to say is, by far, this was probably the only movie that came out this year that genuinely got me so gassed. Uh, just the build up to it, sitting down, experience all of it. I was gassed the entire time. The only film
Well, you
this
ran out of breath.
yeah,
He
man,
died. He
running.
died.
I was in a very
legit
similar
died.
boat. I had to
Yeah.
go
Shat
on
himself
holiday back to the
the entire time.
motherland
Yeah,
on
the
the day
motherland.
that the movie came out.
Yes.
I'm
And I
watching
had a
Across the
flight that
Spider-Verse
day,
tonight. It's
so I
terrible, great.
ran to the cinema in the
What?
morning,
What
watched the
the
movie, ran back home, grabbed my suitcase and stuff, went to the airport,
Oh yeah,
went back to the motherland. It was quite a wild day.
that's dedication right there.
That's how excited I was to
Yeah.
watch it.
Just yeah, I think the movie starts off just with a banger. Starts off
Very
with a
literally, Gwen is
with an
banging the
absolute
drums.
banger. Yes.
And the first
She's-
line, I actually wrote this down in my notes, is her saying,
Mm.
"Let's start things differently," which
Yeah.
is a not so subtle reference to the fact that we are now having Gwen as our perspective character for the opening, which I think is a really
Yeah.
nice choice. Different art style,
Yeah.
different stuff.
The art style from her dimension is all very, very colorful, very like watercolors. It's beautiful. They do such a good job conveying emotion through those colors. And then during this opening montage, they have some of the cleanest transitions I've ever seen in an opening of a movie.
It's very nice. Just to quickly go
It's
back to your colors point as well, my favorite bit
yes,
of that at the beginning of the film is when her and her dad are having that conversation, and you see
yes,
like when they hug, that color like explode out of them, but not
yeah.
in like an aggressive explosion. It's that like soft
It
watercolor,
like
like
warms the room.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's really nice. I
yeah. I
enjoy
was
that
like,
as a moment of animation.
chef's kiss right there. Yeah. But it just yeah, just an incredible montage just to start the movie off, and then it just to start off gives you Gwen's whole perspective, what she's been doing, and then it jumps back to our boy Miles.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool things in that Gwen opening, though. I
We
think I
do.
do want to focus on that a little bit more. Seeing as we can
Yeah.
only talk about a few things, I think that opening sums up a lot of things really well. Like when
Hmm.
we get Gwen's theme throughout, and then as
Beautiful.
things are happening, we then get really well mixed in
Oh,
is the motifs of the different themes. So as
yes.
different things are happening, things are happening on beat. Like when Miguel hops on the vulture's bombs, he does that
Mm.
on beat, which is really just it's
Yeah.
just nice. It's not as impressive as a live movie doing it because you can just animate to it, but it's still very nice to see, very pleasing. But then
Yes.
having the like themes and motifs
They kind
weave
of
in and
blend.
out of
Yeah.
each other as these characters are working together, it helps strengthen the idea of these spider people being connected because they are connected down to the levels of the music of the film,
Yes.
which is
But they're
a
also
super nice
completely
touch.
different from each other, but they still work in a way that can blend in.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
I find Miguel's theme, as intrusive as it is
Exactly.
with those
It's very
loud horns, will
sci-fi,
always
techno,
take
synthy.
over
Yeah.
because that's Miguel's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very good at intruding. It's very much like Miguel. It comes in, makes a lot of noise, and demands to be seen.
Exactly. Just the way he even enters, like the very first time you see Spider-Man 2099, you see him for that brief second where he literally, in a single frame, just wipes out that vulture. And you see that very slow motion where Gwen and Spider-Man and Miguel see each other, and it's very intense.
It's a
It, like,
very,
just shows up out of nowhere.
very
Yeah.
cool moment, and he's just
It's so
so
sick.
obsessed that he can do everything by himself. And like he's so self-assured that he is correct, which plays a lot into the film because it ends up becoming the crux of. I think we're going to go into spoilers here, but it's like the crux of the battle of ideologies in the film. Miles is no, I can do things my way, and fighting essentially for the free will to express yourself how you want. Whereas Miguel is very much insistent on,
By the books.
yeah, to
He
quote
is
Limp
very
Bizkit,
by the
it's
books.
my way
Or
or the highway.
Yeah. 100%. Like, he. Like, you get his motifs, you get his backstory and the reason why he's doing it, but he is very much the authoritarian character. He's the one trying to keep everyone in line because he feels like by doing that, he's doing this, like, good job of keeping this whole timeline in check.
He's more or less like our main villain for this film. Our main threat ends up being Spot.
Yes.
He is the biggest threat to the universe as a whole, but the
Yes.
active villain causing problems for our main character ends up becoming Miguel, who starts as almost like a tertiary villain because, you know, he's clearly not a fan of Miles, but it's more just like mildly antagonistic before he eventually, by the end of the film, he is the biggest force against Miles in this point of time. Never mind the fact that the Spot is probably going to kill his father in the
basically,
next movie.
Miguel blames Miles for the multiverse kind of being ripped open
Due to events in the
first
first
movie.
film.
In the first movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting explanation in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel this movie, not to go into spoilers, but with a revelation with a revelation in the film introduced in the final third?
Yes.
You can go into spoilers.
Do you think this movie maybe has too many villains?
I think
Like
it
3.
doesn't.
I think we're okay with 2 because at the end we don't know if that third if you are spoilers, massive spoilers for the end of the film if you haven't seen it. Prowler
Yeah.
Miles, I believe, is more of an anti-hero force.
Exactly.
Because we see him almost get bit by the spider at in one of the scenes. You see the 42 spider almost bite him before it flashes. And he doesn't. Granted, he ties Miles up and like gets ready to threaten him.
Yeah.
But Miles, in our good guy, Miles does the same thing to Peter B. Parker when he finds him there. And
He does.
the Prowler in himself has always been in comic book history. The original Prowler was Hobie Brown, who is Spider-Punk in this film. But Hobie Brown, as a character, was a bit of an anti-hero. He started off as a criminal, but nowadays he's even just a hero. So I think they're kind of playing into that kind of more anti-hero side of things. We don't know if he is a third villain yet. We haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah, I feel like what they were teasing him to be a villain, but I think they are going to do a 180. I don't know yet, obviously.
I think we're going to get a mix of the two.
Yeah. I think he's going to be more of a darker anti-hero because in this world there wasn't a Spider-Man, so I imagine it's probably a lot darker.
Which you see a lot of burning and fires and darkness.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the 2099 aesthetic in the comics. And while we are on the subject of the comics, I do actually want to quickly bring up Miguel tells Miles that Miles is the reason Peter died because the spider bit him. And I think that's really interesting because in the original Ultimate Comic universe, when Bendis first writes him, Miles blames himself for Spider-Man's death for that exact reason. Miles was bit about 2-3 weeks before Peter Parker died. And as he was developing these powers, he felt like he had to do something with them. He understood the great responsibility because there was already a Spider-Man out there, but he was too scared to. So when, spoilers for the Ultimate Universe Spider-Man storyline, so when Peter fucking dies at the hands of Green Goblin...
20 years?
Yeah.
Spoilers.
When he dies, Miles actually has a very similar thought process of believing that when the spider in that universe bit him, that was like the countdown of Peter's clock, and because
Yeah.
he got bit. Also, he's 13 at this time, so fucking hell, kid, like, cheer up a bit.
Yeah, Jesus
But
Christ, bro.
he blames himself a lot for that, and that is also what I find makes him a distinct Spider-Man in those comics. But I like how Miles in these movies has managed to become a distinct Spider-Man from Peter through different means. Like, he doesn't
Yeah.
blame himself for Peter's death, and also he's managed to find a good mentor in Peter B. Parker.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a different Peter, but I mean, Peter B.
It's still
Parker's
Peter.
great. I love him.
P.B. Parker he's a real G.
Like, Spider-Man, he's very lovable for being relatable. That's one of the best parts about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I think we can all agree. And having Peter B. Parker almost be like a soft parody of Tobey
He is a
Maguire.
soft
He's
parody.
done some bits that you see in the Tobey Maguire films. He even has the like finger-pointing bit when he gets the black suit, but he does it in his suit. It's a soft parody
James
of like
Gunn.
the most guy Spider-Man, and I think
Yeah.
that's
He
just
also
quite
has
nice
a
to see.
crippling gambling addiction, much like Tobey Maguire.
Yes, he does.
And he's
Just
a
like
piece
me,
of
for
shit,
real, for real.
just like
The bit
Tobey
in this
Maguire.
the bit in this movie where Peter B. Parker offers to sell his daughter.
There you go.
I
Yeah,
thought
there you
it
go.
was disgusting.
No, to be fair, the character that they did with Peter B. Parker in this movie was he basically has done like
He's
a
more just
full-
there for comic relief this time round, isn't he? Of course, he is there for
he-
the
I mean, he
meaningful,
is-
like pep
he is
talk and
there
whatnot.
for comic relief, but I feel like his character has done like a big 180 since the first movie.
His
The
character
first
has
Yeah.
matured a
movie,
lot.
he's
He
very
was the best
low.
part of the first movie, I think.
He was the best part of the first movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What are
his
you on
character
about?
was great.
Spider-Ham? Everyone's favorite
Oh, yeah,
character,
yeah.
Spider-Ham?
Yeah,
I
it's a
did
shame Nick
also-
Cage didn't come back this time round.
Spider-Man
Yeah,
Noir was my
yeah.
favorite part of the first one. I take it
Spider-Man
back.
Yeah, that shit was
Yeah.
funny, man.
But what they did with him in this movie, where he obviously has a daughter now, like he's gone parent crazy, but he's also basically trying to tell Miles that Miles is the reason that he turned his life around.
Right.
But yeah, like it's wholesome to see.
Him telling Miles that he was so inspired by Miles to have a daughter because he
Mhm.
wants his daughter to like be even half as good as Miles was. That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
really enjoy that scene. I like the dynamic it adds to Peter and Miles's relationship, with Peter almost seeing himself as a surrogate spider father in a way.
Yeah, literally.
I
Then
think that's
loads of little baby spiders come out of
Yeah.
his holes.
Yeah, they all
But
start
they
like crawling
devour
out of his
Yeah.
skin and they eat him alive.
In the third movie,
Oh.
Peter B. Parker's going to go to Miles like, "You need to eat me, Miles." The only way.
We
And then
haven't,
Miles is like, what? And then he just explodes into
yeah.
spiders.
Give him an honorable
We-
warrior's death.
we haven't talked about Spider-Man India either. I thought his character was
Pitar.
great. Yeah, it was he was fantastic in this movie.
I remember
do
when
enjoy him.
I
Yeah,
remember when I first initially heard about that comic book. That's it's an actual comic book, isn't it? Because
it is. Yeah.
Uncle Ben is called
Comic
Uncle
book
Benji.
made
in that one.
for Spider-Verse, the original comic, which
Yeah,
may I just
cool.
say, nowhere near as good as the movies.
Mhm.
I could get on a whole tangent here about how Dan Slott is Dan Slott, but we're talking about good things right
Yeah.
now.
To
Yeah.
the house, stick to the
Yeah,
movies.
you have Pavatar who's only been Spider-Man for about 6 months, was it?
Something like that.
Yeah, he's a very new Spider-Man, but you can very much see that
He's like the happiest Spider-Man
yeah,
ever.
like he's taken it in stride. Like he's got that balance down. Like before everything kind of goes a bit
Honestly, the
left
whole
with it.
section in his world, I think, might be my
Yeah.
favorite bit of the
Plus
film.
the art style in
Meeting
his
him,
dimension. is
meeting
beautiful as
Hobie,
well.
the whole thing with trying to
Yep.
stop Spot at the reactor,
Yep.
everyone kind of learning to work together.
The building
The
collapsing.
first visual proof that maybe canon events aren't actually canon events by Miles stopping that implosion.
Yeah.
I really enjoy everything set up there. I think that is one of the strongest sections of the whole film. I think it's
Spot
fantastic.
as a villain is also, I think he is very good. They do kind of,
He's so funny.
he's so good to begin with, and then I think in the second act he kind of, he gets his big buff and then just kind of disappears because
Watching his
obviously,
visual design upgrade that
oh,
whole time as
it's
well,
beautiful.
starting as like a sketch with
that's
outlines. You can
amazing.
see like
Yeah,
that outlines from where the human anatomy figures would be if you were drawing, and then as he slowly
Yeah.
loses those, becomes his own shape, and then he becomes inverse, fully black with the white circular spots.
It's like he turns
Yeah.
negative. It's like the other way
Yeah.
around. Yeah, I'm glad you guys touched upon this because I was going to ask you guys how you felt about, because obviously he is technically the central antagonist. So I was going to ask you guys how you felt about his sort of representation and how his impact upon the film itself.
I
I-
wish we got more moments of when
Yes.
you saw things in quote unquote his art style with the black and white sketches. Those are
sketchy,
some of my
yeah.
favorite bits of animation in
Yeah,
the film.
those bits were cool.
Yeah.
They look
I
amazing.
think they did a good job of building him up because, he starts off barely able to even control his power, and he's just trying to rob an ATM machine from a fucking corner store, and then he goes from just the sheer rage and the spite just because the person who made him this way called him a villain of the week, and that out of pure spite he went from barely able to controlling his powers to literally hopping the multiverse fucking shit up.
He had a point to prove, and he was going to prove it.
Yeah, he was proving it, bro.
All that being said,
Yeah,
of
like,
course, like you said, Nick, we were discussing before the recording started. Me and
Yeah.
Tommy agreed that maybe, I'd say next movie, maybe try and tone it down a bit more with the animation style and the changes and whatnot. What are you
think
guys'
they will do.
opinions? on that?
yeah, we probably will. We just love animation movies too much.
I think they've done a lot of the world hopping now. I think we're
Yes.
mostly going to be sticking to Earth 42 and Earth 1616 or whatever the fuck they call Miles's world.
So his is Miles is 1610.
1610.
Yeah.
Okay, so the original Ultimate Universe designation then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miles is in the Ultimate Original Universe, yeah.
Well,
Um,
the movie version of it, not the
yeah.
actual. That's a whole thing.
But I feel
Fucking
like,
comic
yeah,
shit.
this movie was the whole, we get to see this whole Spider-Verse, all of these different spider people, this complete chaos. And then I think the third movie is going to stick closer to what the first movie did, where it's going to be more centered around a few characters. The first chunk of the movie is going to be taking place in this Prowler Miles' dimension, and then the rest of the movie is going to take place back on 1610, where they're all now dealing with the Spot trying to fuck
Maybe with
shit
a
up.
couple moments in 2099 of Miguel
Yeah,
like
back in
menacing
the-
and plotting and
Yeah, trying to hunt down Miles.
um,
Yeah, but then I feel like towards the end of the next movie, Miguel's probably gonna side with all of them, and then they're gonna team up to all fuck the Spot up.
it's either that dramatic sacrifice or he just
Yeah.
doesn't learn his lesson. That
goes
or
all
he
that
has an
comes
absolute
true.
drug relapse.
If all
Yeah,
that comes
all that.
true, the studio owes you guys money.
We are waiting,
Yeah,
Sony.
we've got it on audio
we've
and
got it.
video.
We will
Yeah,
copyright. We will
Verbal
copyright strike
contracts with
Sony
royalties.
themselves and be like, "Pay us now. We wrote your
Yeah.
movie for you."
Threaten
But
them with Sudoku.
that's kind of the thing. It's why I feel like the first movie is slightly better than this one.
The
Just
first movie's
because-
better for so many reasons. Sorry, carry on. I'm just so excited to talk about this film.
It's just simply because they do so much in this movie, but it also just kind of feels like it obviously just ends. Like obviously it's not meant to be a part one, but it very much feels like a part one.
Well, it's
It
that
kind of
weird.
is a part
It's
one,
that
though,
weird
isn't it?
blank
is a
space
part
of
one.
it is a part one, but it's not
it's-
labeled a part one,
But it's
which
not
is, I
labeled.
think, a problem with another one of my favorite recent films. I'm looking at you, June,
Mhm.
where I feel like you need to be a bit more upfront with that
Hey,
stuff.
at least the sequel's going to be called Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
lie.
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse did get me when I watched it first time. I didn't know it was a part one.
I knew it was going to
Yeah.
be because I remember just like
did
Dune,
know
the
that, yeah.
initial
When they-
timeline
yeah,
was
when
it
they
was meant to be a
originally
one
announced
part
it.
and then a 2-part, and then they just
Yeah.
kind of dropped that.
But it still
I
is.
remember being a little bit not miffed, but I was like, oh,
Yeah, I was
A
looking
lot
at
of
the
we've got to
runtime and I
watch
was like,
another
how is this
2.5
happening?
movie in a
Yeah.
couple of years. You
A
know?
lot of people, I remember when I was in the cinema, was pretty miffed that it just kind of ends.
But my nephew didn't mind that much, so it was all good. He
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, I'm going to see the next one.
I
Yeah.
can't wait till like 2025 when the next movie drops, bro.
I do have to fully agree, though. The first movie overall is a complete package deal. We didn't even need the
Yeah.
second movie. I'm glad we
didn't.
got it, and I'm
Yeah.
so... Part of the reason I love it is it works so fucking well as a sequel. Everything follows up from something in the first film, even though that first film is so closed circuit. Like, they clearly made it with just that film in mind, and then they managed to, with things from the first film, make a second film without it just being, like, an excuse for a sequel. They've still got more
Yeah.
stuff to tell. They're remixing the themes in the first film to be explored in new ways in this film, kind of like they do with the music motifs, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
I'm
But what would you to
Metro Boomin.
summarize? What would you rate this?
that's
Metro Boomin out of 10.
A 4 out of 5 Squamadas, you know?
I
Yeah.
am quite a fan.
Yeah, 5
of,
Shagamuffins.
of
I'll give it, like,
Metro
4
Boomin
out of
spider
5.
design.
Shagamuffin reference.
Metro Boomin spider
Do you
design
remember
was kind of
from our food reviews? Joe and Scott's snazzy food reviews. I give it 5
Yeah.
Shagamuffins.
Link in the description for those.
Joe and Scott's snazzy food reviews.
But
Both
yeah,
episodes. Both episodes. They were great.
to wrap this up, I think I'd probably give it a 5-star, but that is with the bias that it's not just a critical 5-star.
Nick
My
is
own
absolutely
personal,
gay for Spider-Man.
and
for those
I
who
and
do
I
not
will
know.
He
admit
is.
that
He is.
fully.
Yeah.
So you have to take that in mind when I give it a 5-star. In general, if I'm rating something, it's not just a critical look; it's also an
It's out of
enjoyment.
love.
Yeah,
it's from the
and I fucking
enjoyment.
love Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So this
Which is how I think you should rate films.
Would you rate it in your top 3 Spider-Man movie?
I was going to ask this.
Okay,
this.
so
I can't.
my first
nowhere close,
Spider-Man
surely.
film, my favorite
No.
is either 2 or the original Spider-Verse. It's tied between those. Those
Yeah.
kind of flop between 1 and 2. And then my third favorite Spider-Man film, that also flip-flops a bit between... I actually love the original Spider-Man film. That's probably it. But I also really like Homecoming. I think Homecoming is the best out of all the Marvel ones that came out. I think they got...
I agree with you there. I still wasn't really impressed by any of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
I'll say this. Nickelback features in the OG Spider-Man movies. That's all I got to say.
Actually,
That's
to
all
be
I gotta
fair,
say.
I am so high.
over Homecoming,
Here,
it is
here, boy.
Spider-Verse. So I think I would give it Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, number 1.
Yep.
Spider-Man 2, number 2. Spider-Man 1, number 3. And then this one would be number 4.
I'd swap.
Understandable.
For mine's very similar, but I'd swap probably Spider-Man 2 and Into Spider-Verse.
I get
'Cause,
that.
I'd
It
probably
goes
do that
Spider-Verse
first.
I
number
think-
3, and
Yeah.
then it would go Spider-Man 1 and then Spider-Man 2.
I think for me, it goes Into the Spider-Verse, number 1.
Wait, hold
Then
on, guys. We should save this for the
Wait,
Spider-Man
Joe.
tier list.
Joe,
We
Spider-Man
probably
3
should.
is your second favorite?
No, Spider-Man 2. No, sorry,
Spider-Man 3
Spider-Man
is number
1.
1, baby.
Spider-Man 1.
Spider-Man 3 is
Spider-Man-
number 1, baby.
Yeah.
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 is my number
I
2.
said Spider-Man 1's my number 2, and then Spider-Man 2 is my number 1. That's how I confused
Fair
myself.
enough. Spider-Man 2 is my number 2, and then I think this might be my number 3. It's close between that.
No
and-
way. Come
It's
on.
it's close between that and probably Far From
Hey.
Home.
Opinion now.
Wow.
I like Far From Home.
That's
Wow.
very
Yeah.
easy, to be
Very
fair.
hot
I'm
take,
not going to
yeah.
hide that this movie's a 3.5 for me.
Fair enough.
I think it's a good movie, but I don't think it shines a candle to any of the other Spider-Man movies. I'd even say Spider-Man 3 is better.
Oh, I do like
Ooh.
Spider-Man
Now
3.
that's a hot take. Oof.
That
I
is a
do
hot
like
Yeah.
take.
Spider-Man 3.
I
man,
would
that's
like
kinda
to bring
spicy. I'm
up.
feeling the
Oh
heat
yes,
for it.
I am
Scott,
an
can we
average
get your
Spider-Man
top
3
three?
enjoyer,
Obviously, we know Spider-Man 3 number one.
Spider-Man 3 is number 1.
Okay. Spider-Man 3 number 1. Spider-Man 3 number
Oh,
1.
yeah.
Okay.
Spider-Man 3 number 2. Fucking Spider-Man 3
Spider-Man
number
3
3.
number 2. And then Spider-Man 3 number 3.
Oh, it's
Okay.
great list.
Um,
Great
So
list.
Spider-Man 3.
That's pretty good. That's
So-
a good list. I
And
like,
the Amazing
I like
Spider-Man 2 number 4. Yeah, that's
I
good.
like
list,
there
good
were
list.
3 Spider-Man 3s. It keeps the motif of 3s going.
Before we
Honestly.
hand this off, I imagine me and Connor, at the very least, will do a video talking about these Spider-Verse films.
Oh, 100%.
I actually plan on talking about most Spider-Man media. A 90s show review is definitely
Fuck yeah.
coming.
You know I'm
Oh,
probably
that's
gonna
that's
count
based.
most
That's
Spider-Man based.
We should do a little
we do.
war, a 90s show war.
Ooh.
Nick, you do Spider-Man, I do Batman, episode by
Ooh.
episode.
Oh, that would be
I'll
really
do-
cool if we align those up
Does
together.
that mean
we
I
could
can
like,
do the X-Men?
if you want, that'd be cool.
X-Men show's pretty fucking good. The animation is ass at times, but it's
Yeah, the
still a
animation
dope show.
is ass at times, but I remember watching
They're
that
bringing
shit
it back.
at 4 o'clock in the
As well, they're
morning.
bringing
I
it back,
know,
aren't they?
I'm hoping it's gonna be gas. Yeah, they're doing a continuation of the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, they
Which would
are.
be cool, because that
Yeah.
last season of that show, the animation is awful.
Oh, I can imagine.
Well,
It's
guys, keep your
awful.
eyes peeled for Batman versus Spider-Man. Whenever me and
Yeah.
Joe get on that, I think that's actually a really
that'd be
cool
cool.
idea. Yeah.
I'm
Would
surprised
that
Joe
be
hasn't.
episode by episode or like season by season?
You know what I would.
Episode by episode, definitely.
You know what I would like to
Damn.
see Joe do? I would like to see Joe do a deep dive of all of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies.
Jesus Christ, I love the first two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ending
first
is
two are
the-
goated.
The ending of Superman 2
First
makes me
two,
cry like a baby
incredible.
when he
Second-
kisses her and makes her forget that he's Superman.
Mm.
Oh my
Yep.
god, I was crying
But
like
then
a little baby.
the
in a
third and the
hotel
fourth movie we don't talk much about.
I'll talk fucking loads about the fourth movie because it's one of the funniest fucking movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And number
Oh,
3
yeah.
has Richard Pryor on it, and I love
But-
Richard Pryor. And it's one of the fucking unfunniest movies ever made.
We should move on to our next movie
Yes,
now.
we should. Yes,
I
I
we
don't
should.
think we should actually.
I
No,
think
we
we should
shouldn't.
I think
continue
we should just
talking
end
about.
it here.
Yeah, we should just carry on talking about Superman.
Sorry, Scott. Sorry, Joe. Your moves of the year don't
Yeah,
matter.
I'm fine. I don't
Yeah.
care about my pick.
We already
anymore. I
spoke
love
about
it.
John Wick, the best movie of the
Christopher
year.
Reeve pioneered
Spider-Man.
stem cell research so that we could be here today.
Yeah, without Christopher Reeves, you wouldn't have Red Rambles, ladies and
If
gentlemen.
it wasn't for Christopher Reeves, like,
Yeah.
you know, then how would we have sold all these fetuses?
Exactly.
Honestly.
Man,
You're breaking my balls, guys. You're breaking my balls.
We gotta make a
Damn.
living somehow, bro.
Speaking of
Scott.
fetuses, Scott, would you,
Oh, that's me. That's me, baby.
would you please give us your movie of the year,
Yeah,
please?
Scott, what is your
Human-sized
pick?
fetus. My pick is the 2023 hit Barbie.
and it was a
hell
hit.
yeah. It was a
It
hit.
definitely was a hit.
Yeah, I
So-
definitely saw Barbie.
One of the biggest
Oh,
money
right.
making movies of the
I
year. 100%.
unfortunately haven't seen it yet. I do want to preface with this because I'm
You're the
planning to
only
do
one.
Barbenheimer. And I was waiting
Nice.
for
What order are
Oppenheimer
you
to
going to watch,
come out.
man?
In title order, so I can have fun first and want to kill myself second.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
Respectable.
I feel like
That's how I did it as well.
finish off with Barbie.
And Oppenheimer only came to streaming yesterday, so I haven't had a chance
Yeah.
to do it yet. But I'm
Yeah, that's
working
true.
on it. Right, Scott,
But
take it away.
please, Scott, yeah, take it away.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
I'm working on it.
I'd say the conversation so far has been quite hot and heavy, so we're gonna slow it down. We're gonna slow it way down. We're gonna make it very
men.
simple.
Thanks, Time Wizard.
I'm gonna preface this also by saying the fact that making this decision was quite hard. Of the 11 films I've seen that have released this year, none of them were pretty good. We're talking about like The Flash, Ant-Man,
Ooh.
Quantumania,
Oof, I saw that.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five
Didn't see
Nights
that.
at Freddy.
These are some pretty refined movies.
Ultimately, what it came down to is what entertained me the most, and it was either this or Blue Beetle. And I think ultimately this is the film that entertained me the most. I will
A
also
man of
say that
distinguished taste right here, ladies
Yeah,
and
he
gentlemen.
is a gentleman.
there's a lot of topics in this film that I'm probably not really able to talk about, but we ignore that, and I will just acknowledge the hypocrisy that this is a film for women, and I'm going to talk about the men.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Talk about
yeah.
the man.
Let's go, baby. Where to start is a good question. I don't really have like comprehensive notes. I just have like bullet points of things I enjoyed about the film.
I have a question for
Um,
you, Scott. Are you
fire away,
Knuff?
please. No.
You are not Knuff.
There's
You are
only one.
Knuff.
There's only one who can be enough, and that is Ryan Gosling. Unfortunately,
But that's
K-Man
literally
himself.
me. That's
No.
literally me, though, bro.
Special K. I know, he's literally all of us. And you're saying we aren't on
We
his
are
level?
Ken. Yeah,
oh,
we
fuck,
are all
what have I
Ken.
done? What have I done?
Ken
Oh, no.
is me.
I guess the best place to start is Ken. Ryan Gosling and his performance in this film is just fucking hilarious to me. The fella put his whole fucking cock and balls into it. Like there is no line in this film that isn't delivered without pure fucking himbo conviction, and for that I applaud. He at all times is the funniest thing on screen whenever he's around.
100%.
There's like I can't describe it in any other way except there's a bit at the beginning where he goes home sad and does like a little like pull the rope off stage right, and it makes me fucking crease. The 2001 Space Odyssey intro like reference I found was, I mean,
How many people going to see that movie do you think understood that?
that's what
Not
I was
many.
thinking.
A good amount
I-
of them, because how many people saw that movie for Gosling?
Yeah, that's true.
That is completely true. I I have to imagine that reference went over a lot of people's heads. Because
Yeah, they're
either,
not all like into serious films like you, Scott, are they?
no, of course, I'm watching the creme de la creme films like Five Nights at Freddy's and
Blue
the
Beetle.
and Blue Beetle.
Hey, he was a Twin Peaks actor, Blue Beetle, for one episode.
Oh wow,
He's
He's
also
got
in the
the
hit show Cobra Kai. Best
Cobra
TV
Kai.
show.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
David
I
Lynch's
get to see.
Cobra Kai.
Do you think Blue Beetle happens when Miguel's in a coma?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, that's a very good. Yeah, that's it's
That's
explained
canon.
now.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Spoilers.
Oh shit! Of course. Fuck! I forgot to say.
That show's
Um,
been out for years. It's all good.
I. It's weird to say this, but I enjoy that the film follows like the inherent nature of playing with toys. Like everything functions like a toy should. Like instead of going down any flights of stairs, Barbie will float or slide down a fucking pool that goes into a pool that doesn't fucking exist. It's like a flat texture of a pool. Whenever she pours a drink, it's completely empty. There's no mirror in a mirror.
Oh,
Little things
really?
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and all the houses have no real walls, do they?
No, they don't have like doors or windows or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Or at least I forget they'll have like a doorway, but like not really any like
Yeah.
walls surrounding it. So it will just look like a playhouse.
even it's like I can't even like it's the bit where the waffle pops out of the fucking toaster machine with like a plastic piece of cream on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just little details that should apply to a toy that do make sense in the reality of this universe. And in the same vein, also kind of appreciates the unashamed weird history of Barbie. Stuff that I wasn't completely aware of at the time that I am now disgustingly aware of, like the fact that there's a Barbie toy that when you lift its arm, its boobs grow.
Do we
Yeah.
get military Barbie
Hey,
in the film?
what the fuck? Really?
Yeah, it's cool.
Where can you get this toy? Yeah, where's this toy? What?
Bro's fiending. Damn.
So, Scott, do you agree with some of the little digs thrown into the movie? Do you over explain The Godfather Part 2 to your girlfriend?
I can't say that in our entire time being together we've ever sat down and watched The Godfather 2.
He's not playing Blue Beetle to his
Because
girlfriend.
she
you ever
would not
seen
let him.
Godfather Part 2 in your life? yeah, she would not let him.
Um, this is valid. To be fair, I think a lot of the digs in the film are quite funny. I think, yeah, at
And
times
I
they're
just
like
want to add that all of our girlfriends are horrible, horrible people.
Yeah.
So horrible to me. All right, sorry,
Right,
Scott. Can you
and
please carry
instantly
on?
every
Please carry
night.
on,
Oh, no,
Scott.
it's completely fine. I enjoy a lot of the humor in the film. I find a lot of it to be like completely ridiculous, and at times maybe even bordering absurdist. It, not in the sense that it's nonsensical, like Family Guy cutaways where nothing happens. Um,
But like actual kind of weird, surreal, absurdist, like bizarre-ish humor.
yeah, bizarre things happening, bizarre interactions,
But it
bizarre.
makes sense within the toy dynamic.
Yes.
And certain scenes in the real world, very
yeah,
funny.
yeah, honestly, I didn't have it written down, but Will Ferrell is very
Oh, I
funny.
wanted to
Yeah.
talk about Will Ferrell.
Oh,
I
he's
really
so
wanted
good
to
in
talk
the
about
movie.
Will Ferrell. He is so fucking good in this movie.
He's fucking
And in
hilarious.
fact, his performance in this movie redeems the myriad of shit he has been releasing the last 10 years.
Oh, honestly,
Holmes and Watson is the funniest film I've ever seen.
God.
So you shut your mouth. You shut
Oh,
your
that
mouth.
movie. I can't.
He should be
What's
burned at the
I
stake.
love Step Brothers, right? I love Step
Yeah.
Brothers. But what I hate even more about Holmes and Watson is that he fucking brought John C. Riley into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
John C. Riley's like genuinely a fucking great actor. And if he wants to do comedy, he can do it great. And if he wants to make me cry, he seems to fucking be really good at doing that. 'Cause he's made me cry in 2 different movies. No, 3 movies, because the third one was Holmes and Watson, because I cried to make it stop.
Please, Master, please.
The pain.
Like some kind of Korean water torture.
Yeah, that movie can go fuck itself. But in this, oh my god, Will Ferrell's fucking
He's
great.
so
And
good.
as the CEO of Barbie, with
Oh,
his
yeah.
pink tie
And it's
and
just
can-
all men.
entirely
can-
male board of directors.
Oh,
You
it's
can
so
tell
good.
that like all of the actors involved in this were just having the time of their fucking
That's
life.
the one thing I wanted to say
Oh.
is that
It is fun. It's a
everyone
really fun
involved
movie.
just looks like they're having the best time of their life.
You know?
And it kind of does come across to a viewer in a way like it's kind of an infectious sort of positivity. And
It's like
everyone's
the opposite
really well
of watching
cast.
this podcast.
Oh, honestly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just makes you want to drive your car into a brick wall. I have a note here that says Ryan Gosling is a joy. He can beach me off anytime.
Can we get some
Um,
context for the people who
This is a
haven't
weird
seen the
call out,
film?
Scott.
So the context is Ken is competing for Barbie's affection on the beach, and in this interaction, sort of threatens to beach someone off.
Oh.
The other Ken. Ken and Ken.
Yes. Ken and Ken. They threaten to beach each other off and beach off the whole beach, and then, bro, it's wild. It's a joyous interaction.
Yeah, I loved Ken in this movie, and mild spoiler for the middle of the movie. But they how he approaches the issues of
Yeah.
the modern
Yes.
real world is hilarious,
Oh, it's so funny. It's like
and he loves it. He absolutely
He-
loves it, and he's like,
so
"This is the
fucking
best
funny.
place ever," because he's like, "Dudes congratulate each other, dudes fist
Oh, it's
bump
so
each other." He's
they
like,
ride
"Wow."
horses.
They ride horses. Yeah.
There's
the
like
horse thing was a big thing for him, wasn't it? It was
Oh,
a really
yeah.
big, the horse
like,
thing
one
was
of
a
his
really big
favourite
thing.
parts of like the patriarchy is the horses. Oh, it's so good.
But it's sort of like the outfits and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's
I
another
go
thing.
crazy with it.
Kind of goes full circle. Is that a lot of the outfits are like weirdly toy accurate as well. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
fits.
the wardrobe team of this movie did a fucking great job.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's crazy how Greta Gerwig, as a director as well, like she's gone from doing like more like lower budget movies like Lady Bird, not Lady Bird, about a Jewish woman. um, Goldberg, sex change movie.
Bill
Um,
Goldberg.
Bill Goldberg. Yeah, listen, Bill Goldberg.
Isn't there Bill
Um,
Goldberg?
But yeah, she's gone from Lady Bird like a good few years ago to now directing. This is the highest grossing film directed by a woman.
I believe
If I'm correct.
I
so
don't know. They
it's-
just released a new Marvel movie directed by a movie, so maybe not anymore, gentlemen.
I think
Marvel
Direct
movie
by
directed by a
movie.
movie, Tommy.
That's
directed by a movie.
incredible.
Marvel
That's
movie
incredible.
directed
That
by a
movie
woman.
is directed. What was the movie in question? Was it
The
Endgame?
Marvels. The Marvels. The new one.
Directed by Endgame.
Directed by Endgame.
We wish.
Co-written by
directed
Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
This guy at the local Tesco. I was going to not the local Tesco, the one by Harbour Lights in Ocean Village, which is a cinema that we all like to go to because it's a little bit smaller, a little bit cheaper, and they let you take your glass pint in, which is cool. I was getting some popcorn from the Tesco there, and this guy was trying to tell me, "Oh, you're going to cinema? Huh? Oh, that new Marvels movie looks amazing, doesn't it?" I didn't have the heart. He was at work. I didn't have the heart to tell him that he had an awful taste in film.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, literally, he was at work, and I didn't want to make his day at work any worse because he's clearly having a horrible time being at
My
work.
man defeated at work, and this guy tells him his taste in movies and shit.
Yeah, that man-
Might as well have just pulled a fucking gun on him.
Right, now give me my change and then leave.
Damn.
Hand him like 10p. It's terrible.
It's how I feel when
Yeah.
I'm talking to someone. They bring up Transformers. I'm like, I love Transformers, and they go, "Yeah, Transformers 2 is amazing." And I just,
It's like,
I was like, "Oh right,
flashbacks.
you're fucking mentally deficient." Transformers 2 Red Ride Along coming out eventually for everyone. who saw
whenever
that
we don't
first
get.
one.
Didn't that happen to
Right.
you, Nick? Like some guy was talking to you about Blade Runner or something. He's like, "Have you seen the sequel?" I was like, and you were like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." He's like, "Yeah, it got a bit long in the end, though, didn't it?"
I was actually, I had a similar conversation again about that film the other day. I'm so sorry, Scott. We're currently interrupting on
I
your.
was gonna say,
well,
this has gone on a massive
Oh,
detention.
Well, I'll need to reel that back in. Give yourself some extra minutes.
yeah.
I was talking to a guy.
And then carries on the tangent.
Well, yeah, that's why I said give yourself some extra
Oh, I'm
minutes.
interested now.
I was speaking to a guy about how I really like Blade Runner 2049, and he just goes to me, "Oh, my brother said he watched it. It was really boring, and it didn't make any sense." I'm like, "Well, how didn't it make any sense? Was he not paying attention?" He says, "Well, to be fair, he did say that he wasn't really he didn't really care at the beginning, and he wasn't paying attention. And
Why
then
the
when he
fuck
tried
did
to
you
pay
watch it then?"
attention, it didn't make any sense. But he was just so bored the whole way through." And I'm like, "Well, what? How do you think that's gonna work? Then you
I
think you're
hate
just gonna
that.
watch a
I
film
fucking can't
and you're just
stand
gonna
that.
understand it? Like, you think that every film's gonna be like base level, so you don't have to pay attention? You can just watch and understand from context because you're basically watching the same fucking movie
Well-
you've seen again."
People
Like,
who go into a movie with an already, like some movies maybe it's justified, but so many people go into movies and they already decide that they either don't or won't like the
Oh,
movie,
mate.
even if they haven't seen it. Like, sure,
Joe!
sometimes there's
Joe!
exceptions.
That's why I really can't go to Showcase Cinema sometimes now. Like the big movie theater
Yeah.
in our city.
Mm-hmm.
You just get every fucking stupid prick going, and I'm sick of it. Everyone must be completely silent when I watch movies.
Oh, I fucking hate it.
If
Yeah, when you-
anyone that even breathes, I am fucking angry. Like I'm just like I'm just so gay and retarded to the point where purism is essential. You know.
Yeah.
Scott. Joe's a 50-year-old man in a young man's body, and on the subject of Scott, Barbie.
Scott, please.
Talk about
Barbie,
that stuff. We're
please.
so
Talk
sorry.
about Barbie.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Where was I? I think one of the more interesting things I wanted to talk about, and that isn't just very surface level, is the fact that Ken, although he's framed as a bad guy for a lot of the film, ultimately just wants to kind of be appreciated and wanted, which is a very interesting theme, because ultimately the lesson learned becomes well, not lesson learned. One of the bigger themes of
There you
this
go.
film.
We didn't learn anything.
One of the bigger themes of this film is to be able to exist without the necessity of someone being with you. Which I don't want to get too deeply into because then I'm just giving away the entire film, and it's kind of hard to talk about the end of the film without.
All right,
It's like
spoiler warning
acceptance, isn't
time.
it? It's like acceptance, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
it's
it's-
accepting yourself rather than accepting other people's like maybe perception that you'd want them to have of you instead of just being comfortable with your own
I
skin.
want to make a little warning, like a siren sound, real quick. Okay, that's the spoiler alarm, I guess. The example of the film is that Ken can exist without Barbie because ultimately he doesn't need Barbie to exist as Ken. And although his entire life, his entire existence is made to serve being Barbie's Ken, he can exist as Ken without being attached to Barbie because Barbie will never love him.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was a very
She's not programmed to feel that way.
exactly.
You could say.
And I don't know. Ultimately, I think it's a very important message among all of the other ones that I'm not going to talk about because I am a man, and I'm not allowed to talk about women.
I'm not allowed to talk
thing.
about women.
That's why, of course, like whenever anyone asked me, like after I saw this, like, what do you think? I was like, yeah, it's good. I couldn't really relate to a lot of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
obviously.
it's not a film that's meant for me, but still remains thoroughly entertaining.
At the
Yes.
same time, it kind of is, though, right? Obviously, Barbie's the central character, but kind of like what you were going to about the whole point with Ken and his character is kind of coming to the understanding that he can accept himself rather than look for approval and acceptance from someone else. I think like that's like such a universal message that you don't have to be a certain like gender or whatever to understand something like that. I think that's a
You are
I think
Kenough.
that's you are enough.
You
I
are
think that is a
enough.
simple enough message that is universal, right? That I think
That being
everyone can
said,
attest to.
I don't think that the phrase "it wasn't made for me" should be used for most movies.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
for example, if a kids movie sucks, we can't say, "Oh, well, it wasn't made for me; it's made for kids." Like, no, that's not a valid excuse.
Because
Like,
kids
No,
still
it's
have
not.
brains.
yeah, exactly.
exactly.
And believe it or not, women have brains.
What?
It's okay. Joe saying that means we've only lost 0.01% of our
we-
audience.
Yeah,
Not
yeah, we gotta
everyone on Red Riders agrees with the standpoints of Joe.
I'm
This
an
man's
ally.
had 2 beers. He's out of control.
I know. We're getting bad. This is Red Riders After Dark.
No,
Oh, no.
but Joe is correct. Women do in fact
Do indeed have brains.
like
and
that was actually a positive
That
thing.
is a
It just sounded really
statement.
it just sounded really bad, but he is
I
correct.
love womanly brains.
Well, Scott, would you say? Do you have any wrap up final thoughts? Anything else you'd finally like to say about Barbie?
Minus all the things I can't talk about it, I think overall
wanna
the
know
movie
all
is
these
thoroughly
things you can't.
entertaining.
I want to know.
The graphic violence
Watch
in
the
the film.
goddamn movie. Watch it. You'll understand. But
True.
minus all the things I can't talk about it, I think the film is thoroughly entertaining. I think anyone can watch it and sit down and be entertained.
It's definitely a good
enjoy-
watch.
Yeah, I think you can entertain the infectious joy that it kind of encapsulates because you can see that everyone's having fun. Some of the writing at times can be a bit shit, a bit maybe a bit
I would
obvious.
agree with you. It can be extremely on the nose to the point where it's annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think if anyone were to ask me like what film that you have seen this year would you recommend wholeheartedly, it would probably be this because it's very easy to watch, very I'm going to say the word again for like the millionth time, but it's just so entertaining.
2 quick questions. What would you rate it? Seeing as we seem to be asking this now.
Yes.
What did I?
How many
ooh,
squamadas?
Yes.
out of 5 or 10?
How many Spider-Man 3s would you give this film?
Yes.
Whoa.
Out of
That's a lot.
5.
1 to 5.
How does Dame Drops review food?
Oh fuck! Well, how did he? Is it
Does he
super
just
official or not?
fucking go, oh, that's good, and then just call it a day?
That's a 5
It's
star.
alright. 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. No, wow, this is amazing. 8 out of 10.
I saw like a review on Letterboxd once, like this movie is amazing, 2.5 stars. I was like, what? I don't understand.
No, I kind of get that though, you know? Like, that sounds like the kind of review you should give The Room. You're either giving it 5 stars and it's amazing, or 2.5 stars and like a light.
Similar
Yeah,
to my
okay,
review of
it's-
Freddy
it's-
Got Fingered, to be fair. Similar
Like
to
my
my
review of The Meg 2 is like, it is a 2-star movie, but I'm kind of praising it for being a 2-star movie.
And
I
the
couldn't
second
stand the Mag
question
2.
I wanted to ask you, Scott, is in your
I don't think you
tier.
answered the first one.
Oh yeah, you didn't. Sorry, we got sidetracked. So what would you rate it?
On when I originally watched it, I gave it a 4 on Letterboxd. However, upon review, I think maybe a 3.5 or a 3.75 if we're doing.
Yeah, I
this.
gave it a 3.5 as well.
And
I
then-
think 3.5 is a good one for reflection.
Which means that this year must have really sucked for movies for you, Scott, if your movie of the year is a 3.5.
I just haven't seen all the great films that came out this year.
And then my other
you
question
shouldn't.
is, what would you rate it on your like top 3 movies about action figures?
Oh god, well, Small Soldiers is number
Oh,
one.
you
Small
can't
Soldiers
beat
is
Small
S tier.
Soldiers.
Yeah.
Small
What?
Soldiers is like 1+1.
Yes.
You know?
Bro, like it's literally Small Soldiers is S tier, and anything below that is F. It's not even close.
Toy Story.
Yeah, Small Soldiers, like, Scott, I remember when we watched Small Soldiers together at like 2 in the morning in your living room.
Oh,
It was
bro,
amazing.
It was a great
It was a
time.
good night.
Small Soldiers is number 1, and then I think it's like Toy Story 2 has to be like number 2, and then Barbie might be 3.
Would you count Jingle All the Way as an action figure as one of the central plot points?
I don't know what like.
I don't know because the
Well, yeah,
action figure bit
film.
is like it's not till the end really. Like that is a good choice for the Christmas episode though.
Oh yeah,
that is a good
oh,
choice.
yeah.
Tune in
They're
next
in the
time,
big show.
folks.
What
But
films is
Scott,
there
would you
about?
say you wrapped up everything you wanted to say about Barbie then, my friend?
I think I've got everything that I needed to say.
Just
out.
like Jingle All the Way.
Just like Jingle Away. Well, very nice, very nice. Well, thank you very much for that, Scott. I'm sorry we went on a bit of a tangent during
It's
yours,
cool.
but
I-
thank you very, very much.
You picked a very discussable movie.
He did,
And
he
you did
did.
very well for a man.
Oh, man.
I'm
But with
automatically
that-
at a disadvantage because I'm a
And it's definitely one of the biggest movies of the year, no
Oh,
question.
easily.
I can't wait to actually watch it now.
I think you'd
Yeah.
love it.
But yeah,
Honestly,
no,
it looks right up my alley. I really want
It
to
looks
see
up
it
my
in the
alley
cinema.
too.
It was a fun movie.
But thank you very much for that, Scott. I'd say with that out of the way, we will get to our good man Joe with our final pick of
Oh,
2023.
Are we now?
Take it away,
I'm gonna
baby.
I'm gonna go really obvious with it. Really, really bloody obvious. My pick of 2023 is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Mhm.
This is the most recent entry from Martin Scorsese,
And
which you
out
all
of all
know.
the entries on this
And
list.
out of all these films, yeah.
Pardon me.
Recent entry out of all of these films as
Oh
well.
yes, it is the one that most recently came out. Me, Tommy, and Nick all went to the cinema to go see this together. It was a good day. Super last minute.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
just had to
literally.
fucking burp there. This professional podcast, super last minute. Because we were all like, "Oh fuck, are we ever gonna get the time to go see it?" But we were just randomly free that night, so yeah, it was great. We all enjoyed watching it, despite our asses being super numb by the end of it.
3.5 hours, baby.
Barbara likes
Yeah, of
is
course, this
great,
is-
but nothing beats those showcase chairs.
Oh yeah.
Oh
preach.
god, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you have to deal with the occasional retard to just have an amazing chair at showcase.
Yeah.
Like, but
I've got my
Going
work
back
cut
to-
out for me on this edit.
Yeah, you do.
I'll just keep it in there. We got to keep it in there. We're not censoring ourselves for the algorithm. Screw them. Marty
I
wouldn't
want it
censor
taken
it.
off YouTube.
If Marty made YouTube videos, he'd be the worst. He'd be like Vegan Gains. if Martin Scorsese was a YouTuber. The Italian American version of Vegan Gains.
I love vegan gains.
He'd record death. Speaking of Scorsese, this is sort of his continuation with epics. He's become more and more greatly inspired by Kurosawa as he ventures into his older age. He's most recently said it was heartbreaking as well. Like, kind of made me sad. He was like saying, "I finally understand what Kurosawa was saying." You know, near the end of his life, it's like I want to tell all these amazing stories, but there's no time left. There's no time left. Then he's like, I finally understand what he meant. Which is definitely why Scorsese is pretty much just focusing on these like 3.5 hour plus like movies
Telling these
from now
epic
on.
stories,
Exactly, like because like, even with the Irishman, there was almost sort of like a mythical approach to the Irishman, like it's almost sort of like a legend. Because like, of course, the story of Jimmy Hoffa and like how Jimmy Hoffa actually died or disappeared, still one of the many unsolved mysteries of American crime. So there was a great approach to that, and with this, he's continuing the non-fiction route. The events of Killers of the Flower Moon is greatly inspired by real events. It's inspired by a book of the same name, and so it centers around this fella called Ernest, and he has just come back from World War One to go straight into working for his uncle William Hale, who is a cattle rancher. The biggest cattle rancher in the region in which the film takes place. And of course, no spoilers here. I won't spoil anything about the movie. I'll just give you the basic premise. Ernest is sort of roped into or convinced into making a lot of money. His uncle has this plot because there was an Osage tribe who, when they were moved to their reservation in Oklahoma, they struck oil and, of course, used this oil to attain a fortune. They were the only tribe of their kind to be able to proper blend into rich white society like they did. So William Hale constructed this idea to where if Ernest would marry one of the women of the Osage tribe, then they would eventually kill each member of the family until the money found its way into William Hale's hands. So that is what we're given going into the film. And may I say, Lily Gladstone.
Incredible.
She is the MVP of this movie. She plays Molly.
Makes me wish I had a Native American wife. Wonderful
Yeah,
performance.
you know, and Leo,
the
Leo
money,
proves how
right?
good he is. Leo proves how good he is in this movie by actually making me genuinely believe that he loved a woman over the age of 25.
Facts.
He
Jesus
does a
Christ.
great job in playing a man who has convinced himself he loves this woman, even with the horrific shit he even puts her fucking family through.
Yeah.
I think he did love her. He
I
definitely
do
did.
too. I
I
do
think
too.
it
I think
started
he's
that
just
way.
he's just a weak-minded, pathetic man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Scorsese's always been one for he likes to make movies about people and their motivations and why they do certain things they do.
Absolutely.
And with this, I think it's a brilliant example of that because you have three key figures in here. You have De Niro, DiCaprio, and Lily Gladstone's characters, and they all have sort of different things in mind. Of course, like DiCaprio and De Niro, they both want the same thing. They both want money, but there's a clear puppet master in this situation. There's a clear manipulation and power game going on. Early in the film, Molly asks him, "Are you scared of your uncle?" sort of implying there's already this like powerful presence around him. Of course, he even says he's the deputy sheriff of that region. He is the largest cattle rancher of that region. He is mates with all the politicians, the doctors. He knows everybody. So he uses De Niro as a catalyst to just proper showcase the horrible, horrible American greed of the time. The plot itself is just dastardly evil, and De Niro, oh my god, De Niro really shocked me in this movie. He really wowed me with just how fucking hateable he is. I love Robert De Niro. He's in my top 3 actors, I'd say, of all time.
Oh yeah, he's just the best.
When he's great, he knocks out the park. And I did like his performance in The Irishman a lot, despite the fact I believe it is still maybe not his best. But I did like his performance in that film still. The Irishman is a lot about subtleties. But with this one, of course, with him not playing a mafia type character whatsoever, like he's playing the more, the wholesome, on the surface anyway, he's the wholesome countryman, he's there for the Osage people. Like I said, on surface, he's there for the Osage people. He's like an ally to these people, someone who they believe isn't a racist in any way, stuff like that. But he is just a horrible snake.
His demeanor is a contrast to like his inward expression, right? Like everything he says is so soft and delicate, but like underneath it is like actual kind of like pretty like a horrific and manipulative and greedy nature, like underneath that sort of subtle demeanor.
Which is just why it's so impressive as well.
Exactly.
Like De Niro, I think, holds in these subtleties a lot more this time around. He really impressed me with this. Of course, there are some like the 3 leads aren't just the only cool people that were involved in this film. Of course, our man Brendan Fraser shows up near the end,
and he's so fucking funny. He's
he
overacting his heart out.
He got a lot like a super loud laugh out of you in the cinema, which almost made me laugh because I was like, of course, Nick, stupid boy.
The moment you see him, I was like the camera pans
His
to him
eyes.
at the. Yeah, I was about to say he's got those massive bug eyes before he's even said anything. He's sat there like he's about to fucking explode, and then he starts talking, and it's just this explosion of Brendan Fraser. It's the funniest thing. He was so funny. He like
to see it.
I was speaking
I'm
to
happy
someone who was
Scorsese
like,
thought about him though. It's great.
Yeah.
It's like Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond being like a central character in The Irishman as well. I just love that he picks up, these people who haven't been. Of course, Brendan Fraser's comeback aside, it's just great that Scorsese picks up these people who, maybe you haven't seen in a few years in anything, and just gives them like a little spotlight here
like
and there.
Stephen Graham, right? Like Stephen Graham, who plays Tommy in Snatch. He's in The Irishman as well, isn't he?
Well, Stephen Graham has been killing it on TV. The reason he was in The Irishman is because Stephen Graham had his critically acclaimed role in mafia shows like Boardwalk Empire.
Have you seen Boiling Point with him in? Oh my!
Yeah, Boiling Point's a great movie, man.
Oh my god, yes. Please carry on.
Killers of the Flower Moon. So we all had the 3 of us that went to go see it in the cinema. We actually all had a different rating for it, each by a half star.
yes.
So it goes Nick at the top, which actually, much to my surprise, gave it a 5.
I loved it. I was fucking hooked. Apart from the 2 scenes where I thought it dragged.
Which is really surprised by it. Which, don't get me wrong, I know you're you love a good movie just as much as the next guy. But of course, there have been times where you and mine, tastes will differ. Which I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised to see that this very this is a movie that really takes its time. This is a movie with a slow pace.
But I think
dialogue
the pace
heavy,
was
all
really
that
well
stuff.
handled.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
I
you
can
know,
handle a
pleasantly
movie being
surprised to
slow.
see that you loved it so much.
Oh no, honestly, it's one of my favorite Scorsese's. I don't think it will top Wolf of Wall Street. I think that's always going to be my favorite.
Yeah, you love that one. Yeah.
Like it's crazy. A movie about the crazy capitalist man. As much as I don't agree with capitalism being the best thing ever, goddamn, that movie might
Well,
be one
this
of
is
the best
also a
things
movie. You
ever.
say this is also a movie about a few crazy capitalists
Mm.
And they getting
some
their
pretty wacky
comeuppance
ideas.
as well. But
Well,
people seem
I
to
would argue.
miss those
I would
themes.
argue. I would argue that they don't.
On a personal level, they do, but they have one too much in this movie in particular for
We're
it
not
to
gonna
be a...
say we're not, because I really don't want to get into spoilers with this one, as it
Yes.
has released so recently. But yeah, I mean, but of course, this is a real event in history that happened, so anyone could just fucking look up the murders of the Osage tribe.
But just bear in
Um,
mind, with all the closure we get, the Native Americans did not get the same closure.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah. Which I think is one of the themes that kind of the film kind of really progresses, is that the struggle still carries on,
Oh
But-
yeah, absolutely.
but their culture won't ever die.
God, I would love to talk about that like ending, but we'll have to hold off on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, hold on that because I
can't
want
talk
to as
about
well.
I adore that scene. If you've seen the movie, then you'd know the way it's framed, what we cut into, the way it finishes off is...
with who's
Yeah.
who's in it too, like
I actually forgot to mention to you guys, it isn't just Scorsese's little cameo. It's also Jack White is one of the announcers
Oh, nice.
of it. Yeah, from the White Stripes.
oh damn,
um,
that's cool.
Yeah, which is really random as well. Like, I know Scorsese's a big music fan. Part of my dissertation was like just writing about Scorsese's music choices in movies. And actually, also this is because this takes place in the 1920s. Scorsese wasn't able to do his usual shtick of incorporating popular music.
Which does...
And- Don't get me wrong, there's still some songs that were released at the time that play in the film, but you won't see him using, Cream, Sunshine of My Love at any point in this movie, stuff like that. There's no Frank Sinatra in this movie. So it relied on an actual, like, non-diegetic ambient soundtrack to sort of spearhead it. And there's a lot of guitar, really, like, subtle blues guitar in there.
A lot of the ambient tracks I am a fan of, especially with the way they can like change in pace to completely change the mood of the scene.
Yeah, and like the performance of a certain scene won't match the soundtrack entirely. Like you're still kind of the soundtrack kind of pushes that dark underbelly of like the real goings on of what's happening.
It juxtaposes with the scene.
Yeah, yeah, which was sick. Like, of course, just to again, it's all about the subtleties here. Like Scorsese's really just, I mean, the guy's been making top tier films longer than we've been alive. You could combine some of our ages as well, and he'll still be, still will have made movies, really good movies, longer than that. Not all of our ages, but
about.
yeah. So it's all about him just refining his craft. Just certain, like, the scenes near the beginning where they're all taking photos, and it will actually shoot to the point of view of the old style camera whilst it's taking the photo and whatnot. I just think stuff like that is absolutely brilliant, and it does a good job of kind of taking you out of the modern day and putting you into this world, this 1920s Dust Bowl era of America, where everyone was just working to survive and trying to make money
I loved it.
in any way they can. Yeah, you really do feel like you're there. Like all the cars, just all the sets, all the haircuts, all the clothes. It's the fine attention to details that Scorsese's always focused on. That's just great, especially as he's focusing more on period pieces and films that focus on the past rather than films that focus on modern day.
I think even the pacing has a lot to do with setting the tone, because obviously these days everyone's rushing for something, and they have a clear thing of like people in the film aren't always rushing. They're taking their time, they're enjoying what they can of their lives, apart from when horrific stuff is going on.
Which is a lot of the time in this movie.
And unfortunately,
Yeah, this
for the
movie,
characters.
there's some real emotional pain that the characters have to go through.
Oh
here and
God.
there.
Yeah, no, yeah. Without getting into spoilers, the
Some
heartstrings
horrible,
are certainly tugged.
and certain decisions certain characters make where you think just like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing
That kind of links back to what you were saying, like what we were saying earlier about Leo's character in the film. Whether or not he truly loved his family, it's because of those certain heart-wrenching moments that I truly believe, in his own sort of twisted way, I think he really did care about his family. I think his performance in the character itself was a man who he's a simple man in such a intricate plot, right? Not even just the narrative of the film itself, but obviously it's based off a book, based off a true story, like the schemes.
First clip you see of Ernest, he's taking a swig out of his flask.
Yeah.
And there's only a couple of scenes in the film where he describes his experiences in World War One. And you just put two and two together, and you can tell he's possibly a really just mentally unwell man, who's very fragile, very easily used, very easily manipulated and led along. Probably someone who, this is the 20s, and this is in, more a country part of America. He probably didn't receive the best education, stuff like that. But the weird thing about his character is that he's definitely not a racist. Like, when he asks him, do you like women? He likes, yeah, I like all kinds of women, white, red. He holds no prejudice against Native American people at all, which is maybe why it's easier for him to take part in this plot of killing people, because he just sees them as more people to make him more money. And I guess to close it up, that's the real message of the movie, I suppose, is that money triumphs all moralities in some cases, especially in the days of that era of America, just coming out of the biggest war in the world to happen at the time, the war to end all wars, so they said. And I can't wait to see more these kind of movies from Scorsese. If this is what his general focus now, I want to see him. I need to see a few more movies with him and Leo working together. I would love to see DiCaprio and De Niro working more together. Great stuff there. Do we have a movie where they're both in it, other than this?
Yes, their very first movie together, This Boy's Life, which is from the early 90s. It's a great movie.
That's fucking incredible trivia right there, Tommy. I've never even heard of that movie.
Fantastic movie. It's about, to put it simply, it's about a young teenage boy who lives with his single mother who gets with a new abusive boyfriend who's played by Robert De Niro. And it's about how their new life and their relationship is warped, and how Robert De Niro is supposed to be kind of like this new father figure, but he's a real piece of shit. It's a fantastic movie. It's super under the
just
radar.
Like in Killers of the Flower Moon, he's playing a real piece of shit.
Yeah, but in Killers of the Flower Moon, he's like on the surface a nice guy. In This Boy's Life, he's
just a fucking piece of shit.
a proper piece of shit. Like, he has moments where you're like, oh, he could be a good guy, and then he does something horrible, and it's like, oh yeah. But that's as far as I'm aware, that's the first time they worked together. This was still very on in Leonardo's career. This was probably not too long after What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which was arguably one of his like big breakout roles. Excluding Critters 4, of course.
He goes full retard in that movie.
That's at least 3 or 4. That's 3 or 4.
I know the R word, the retard word, has been very popular this episode.
Which
you're the only one.
Yeah. Which is and for that reason, me being retarded is why Killers of the Flower Moon is my number one pick of 2023.
What would you rate it out of 5?
4.5. 4.5. It's nowhere near as good as Casino or Goodfellas, which are both 5.
What are your top 3 Scorsese movies?
Oh,
Okay.
Take your time. I
Mm-hmm.
understand.
There's so many. I
It's
think we
kind
should
of
all
pick
do.
number 3. That's the hard bit. Hard bit, really.
I've got mine.
Just on a whim, the first shit I can think of that comes to my head, I'll say Taxi Driver, Casino, Goodfellas.
Nice.
De Niro. It's all De
I'd-
Niro.
I'd probably go Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and Raging Bull. I originally gave Raging Bull when I first watched it a 4.5. Then I pondered, and I actually, if I were to watch it again, I'd probably up it to a 5, just because like the performance De Niro has in Raging Bull is
Oh, he's so good in that movie.
it's so anxiety-inducing because you're constantly on edge.
A lot of really good
which-
makeup on him.
Oh,
in that
yeah.
movie as well.
I love the use of black and white in that as well. Scorsese, he made it a point that he wanted it to be black and white because when you were watching boxing matches during that time, obviously it'd be black and white, and he thought that the black and white, like the tones, would suit the actual tone of the movie as well. But it's crazy to think a lot of directors, it can go one way or another, right? A lot of directors, they either get better, or a lot of them, as they get older, it isn't the same anymore. But it seems like Scorsese continuously proves that age isn't like a limit to him. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a hindrance, right? This man keeps the fact that he can make 3.5 hour long epic movies of this sort of scale and proportion and do it justice, because clearly this was a story that meant a lot to him, and he really wanted to give it the proper representation he felt like it deserved. It's a real testament to why that he is arguably one of the greatest ever, like, because this man just continuously is innovating, is inspired, and just proving why he's the fucking goat. Same with De Niro in an acting sense as well. In an acting sense, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, both of them just bounce off each other fucking amazingly.
Like objectively, I would say that this was also like the best movie of 2023. But John Wick 4, I had so much fun watching it that I had to pick that. But if I was to do objectively, I would have picked this movie too.
Yeah, before we completely
Can I
wrap this
quickly
episode
drop
up.
down my top 3? I think they're a little different.
Oh, yeah,
spice
sure.
it up.
Wall Street,
Yep.
Shutter Island.
What, number 1?
Wall Street number 1 is my favorite Scorsese.
Okay.
Shutter Island,
So underrated. So
Uh,
Yeah,
underrated.
hella underrated.
and then I'd say Killers.
Respectable.
Really break that high. Nice.
It's either that or Goodfellas in that spot. But at the
you
moment,
still need
it's
to
Killers.
see Taxi Driver.
I do.
You still need,
You
I
still need to see
the King
Raging
of
Bull.
Comedy, Rage of Bull. So there's
You'd like
plenty
Cape
of.
Fear as well. His remake of Cape Fear.
Cape Fear is fun.
Really
It's
good.
probably
No,
mine personally is
one
my
of
least
my-
favorite, but I still really good.
One of my I gotta say one of my favorite Martin Scorsese movies is Gangs of New York.
Oh yeah, Gangs of
Bro,
New York.
I haven't
so
even seen
fucking
Gangs
good,
of New
man.
York.
Or
That's one
Gangs
of the
of New
few.
York.
Dude,
fucking
Gangs of New York is
bangs.
banging, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard
Gangs
it's
of New
good.
York is really good. I actually
Bang.
completely forgot that. I actually forget that he directed that every time.
He also
think
did
of that movie.
Aviator, which I still need to see.
Yeah,
I heard
yeah,
that's
with
really good.
DiCaprio.
Yeah,
That's
with
with
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio, right?
Yeah.
Connor
Do
just
you think that was the
casually
first
coming
one they
out
did?
and dropping some heat after 20 minutes
Yep.
of silence.
Just out of nowhere.
Gangs of New York.
Boom, banger.
Gangs of New York is a fucking really good movie, and
I
it's,
haven't
it's more.
seen
It's
that
one of his
many.
more.
I've-
That movie is kind of definitely where he started going the more
Yeah.
like living legend, larger than life
Yeah.
I've
character
seen.
scenario sort of thing.
I think the only Martin Scorsese movies I've seen is probably
Surely
Gangs
seen
of
Wolf
New
of Wall
York.
Street.
Shutter Island and Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah,
We've never seen Goodfellas.
I don't think so.
Joe, I
That
hadn't
is-
seen it, to be
that-
fair, till I watched it with you for the first time.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, like even I
Absolutely
hadn't seen.
ridiculous.
That's the thing with Scorsese, though. It's crazy, right? We could say, like, especially us here who have seen quite a few Scorsese films, it's not like we're saying that top 3 is like, it's like, oh, those are like the definitive like best, because like the 4, 5, and 6 after that for each of us will probably also still be all incredible movies. Like mine after that would probably be like Casino, Wolf of Wall Street, and probably fuck knows, bro. Maybe Killers, and they're all incredible films in their own right. It just shows how crazy the discography of this director is. That he's just like
Filmography.
another one. Yeah, filmography, I should say.
Another
The film, like,
Although if Martin Scorsese releases an album, I will be there.
what about you, Scott? Do you have a top 3 Scorsese movies?
I don't even know if I've seen 3, to be honest.
What's your top 1 Scorsese movie?
Oh, Goodfellas.
Fuck
Gang.
yeah, good
Gang.
choice.
Great
That
film.
is one of the best movies ever made.
He's got that on one of his favorite movies on Letterboxd, and he has it as a 4.5 star.
Ooh, harsh critic.
Hey, a film can be one of your favorites and not be 5-star.
Thank you.
Honestly, if I met someone out there who had one 5-star movie, I'd be fucking impressed. I'd shake their hand.
I don't know. I'd say
Only
that you're a
one movie
cynical
has made
person.
them. Only one. Ow, Tommy, come on. Just being not liking garbage isn't being cynical.
To have one 5-star movie, that
Well,
is.
it just shows that they've got their own refined taste. There's nothing cynical about it.
I guess so. I guess so.
Using the word cynical for something like that is,
Well,
I'd say,
I-
almost as derogatory as saying women have no brains.
I don't know. I just think it. I think what I'm just trying to say is this person maybe
And
doesn't
even
have as
though
much
we've
enjoyment.
already established, but you know, what if their parents died in a car crash? You wouldn't have as much enjoyment, would you?
We're adding
I don't
so
know,
many
it depends on how they
stipulations
went
You're
out.
adding
onto
so
this.
many outliers to
Yeah,
Look,
depends on how
if my parents died in a car crash at the young age,
Then
of
I
4
would give
months,
no movie 5 stars.
Yeah,
over
then
that.
I would give no movie
exactly.
Yeah,
5
no,
stars.
that's
no
the
movie
reason
could,
why.
no movie could stop the hole that was in my heart.
To be
No
honest,
movie-
I haven't given a
therefore,
movie
no
5 stars
five-star
since
reviews.
9/11. To be honest, it just hasn't been the same.
Exactly.
Oh,
It should have been 5 buildings for each star.
Oh, God. They only hit 3.
Yeah,
Well-
exactly, Tommy. They only hit 2 buildings, so you can only
Oh,
rate every movie
yeah, so they
2
can't give
stars.
it any more because there was only
Yeah, exactly.
There's
Because
only 2 buildings.
Wow,
out of
this-
respect,
This
out of
episode's
respect.
gone off the rails. It's gone off the rails.
I
Well,
rate this movie 1.5 out of 2 9/11s.
Well, guys, we got Christmas to look forward to.
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did.
Indeed.
Dude.
Indeed.
Next month,
I'm
the
so
Red Ramble Christmas episode will be coming to you. Scott, do you think you're going to return for that one?
Oh, we can only hope.
It's
we
just going to
can.
be a 4-hour
Could have
video
done.
of Jingle All the Way.
Next episode, we plan on bringing a bit more of a more standard format in. With
Yeah.
I think we're going to be trying to do 3 movie episodes. Apart from for special occasions, and granted, Christmas is one of those, but we've
Yeah.
just done 2 pretty
Big episodes.
yeah.
But this was probably not going to be as big as the last one.
Oh no, but
I doubt, yeah. But I think it's ran on for longer than we all originally anticipated.
Hey, I
Oh,
was
yeah,
pretty good.
100.
I was only like 20 odd minutes with mine. I was like,
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
But that is how it goes.
But
That's
yeah,
why it's called Red
everybody-
Rambles.
Indeed, everybody. Yeah, we got Christmas coming up next time. Look forward to that. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you want to see category-wise for what episodes, what kind of movies we focus on.
Let us
Yeah.
know your
I'm
favorite
kinda-
movies of 2023. We'd
yeah,
love
yeah.
to
let
see
us
what
know
anyone
down
else
below. We'd
had.
love to see.
We'd love to be able to
Yeah.
tell you where you're wrong, where you're right.
Exactly.
Start some arguments.
We'd love to tell you how
Everyone-
our opinions
yeah.
are the only correct ones.
yeah,
what
and
we
how
We'd love
everyone
to
else
see how
is wrong.
cynical you are. If you're, let us
Exactly.
know if your parents died in a car crash and you can't enjoy movies anymore.
Let us
And
know if
let us-
9/11 hit you the
Let us
same
know
way.
let us know if 9/11 affected your enjoyment of the film industry.
Oh,
of
I
course,
do have
if
to
you-
say, if you're not going to watch something, just don't fucking watch Alien 3. Terrible film.
Yeah, that is
Terrible
true.
film.
Especially
Alien
the
3.
extended edition. Do not watch the extended edition of
Don't watch
Alien
it.
3.
If
Don't
that's
do
the
it.
one, if that's the one takeaway from the best of 2023 is don't watch Alien 3, then you've
I'd say
come
it's been
to
a
the
good
right
2023,
place.
to
I'd
be
say it's a
honest.
good 2023.
Yeah,
Did Alien
Definitely.
3 come out this year? I don't think so.
That means it was a good year. That
Yep.
was a good year. All
Good
right,
luck
that
with,
sounds like a good note to end
Thank
off.
you so
Yeah.
much
Thank
for
you.
watching.
Thank you
Good
so
luck
much.
Yep,
with
that's an episode.
2024.
That is episode 2.
Bye.